friends, welcome to इसका ज्ञान चिंतन के साथ and today we are going to discuss a new topic for IELTS Stars 2. But before we do that, let me show you the playlist of my YouTube channel in which I have discussed 100 vocabulary words with meaning and with sentences. So if you really want to learn those things, then you can go through those videos. I recommend going one video per day, learning those words, and if possible, then please try to create sentences in the comment section so that gradually you will develop the habit of using those words in your day-to-day communication, and eventually it will become helpful for getting good bands in your IELTS Stars 2 and IELTS speaking for sure. Okay, so if you like or if you feel them correct, then please start using the same. Now let's come back to the topic of the essay. And if I talk about the category of the essay today, then it is kind of agree disagree kind of essay which we are going to discuss today. If I read out the statement which is in front of you, then the statement is something like this. Many educators believe that educators means you can consider educators as a teachers. Many educators believe that international exchange trips are beneficial for students. Do you agree or disagree with statement? Give your opinion, right? It means that many teachers believe that this international exchange trips. What is international exchange trips? In this kind of trips, let's say for example, students are traveling from their native country to other country. It means some students from India will travel to Canada for a certain period of time to get education or to study. Now, from other country, it may possible that some students, some group of students will travel to India for their further study. So this particular trip, so this kind of trip can be considered as a international exchange trips. Okay. So some people or some teachers believe that this kind of trips are beneficial to students. Okay. Now, what is your view? Okay. Do you agree with this statement? If you totally agree, it means that you are having all the advantages for this international exchange trips. If you totally disagree with this statement, then it may possible that you have all the disadvantages in your mind for the given statement. But as I said you earlier also, like in this kind of essay, always try to be diplomatic. Okay, always try to be diplomatic. That will give you a chance to write about advantages also and disadvantages also. Okay, it means if I talk very simple way, if I talk in a very simple way for this particular statement, then basically you need to write the advantages of this international exchange trips by considering the case of students, and in another paragraph you need to describe the disadvantages of this international exchange trips from the perspective of students. That is what the basic idea that we are going to develop further in our discussion. Okay, now here also we can follow the pattern of four paragraph. The first one will be your introduction, the second one will be your body paragraph number one, then body paragraph number two, and the last one will be your conclusion. Right? Now, if I start or if I begin the discussion of introduction paragraph, then as we have already discussed, for writing introduction, there are two activities are required. The first one will be your keyword hunting, and the second one will be your thesis statement. So without wasting any time, let's start finding keyword from this particular statement. So as you can see, friends, like here, my keyword would be international exchange trip. Okay. Now, either you can consider this particular thing as a keyword, and you can write 2 to 3 sentences by using this keyword. Okay, to develop your what I can say, to develop your introduction paragraph. Or if I generalize this particular word in a more manner, then this international exchange trips will become visiting different countries by students. So in that way, uh, our keyword can be visiting different countries. Okay. And by using that concept, we can also develop our introduction paragraph, or we can also write our 2 to 3 sentences, generalized sentences, in which like we can mention that how visiting different countries can contribute uh, for the development of students. Okay, so in that way, uh, or how it influence the students' life, like visiting different country, how it influence or impact students' life, that can be mentioned in your first generalized 2 to 3 sentences, and then we can go for the thesis statement. How we can, what kind of sentences and how introduction paragraph can be developed, that we are going to see in a slide, in a next slide in a minute. But now it's time to discuss thesis statement for this particular statement. So let's discuss thesis statement for this particular essay. So friends, like if I talk about the basic definition of thesis statement, according to me, then it would be a sentence in your introduction paragraph through which you are going to communicate with your examiner that I'm going to write about this and this thing further in my essay. So that particular statement can be considered as a thesis statement in your introduction paragraph. And friends, like this particular thesis statement is mandatory. If you have not written the thesis statement, then you will lose band for sure. Now, if I talk about this particular topic which is given to us, then my normal idea or the normal way to write thesis statement, as my view for this particular statement is a diplomatic. It means that I am slightly agree with this statement because I have certain advantages of this given concept in my mind, and I am also slightly disagree with this concept because in all the cases these trips are not beneficial according to me. It means that I am also having some disadvantages in my mind also. So if I just give general idea of that thought process, then my thesis statement would be something like this: that although there are so many advantages of these trips, in my opinion, there are also some disadvantages of this shift. This is what the simple way you can write your thesis statement, right? And by that statement, the examiner will get the idea that the candidate will write the advantages and disadvantages of this kind of trips in further essay. But if I reframe that particular sentence, right, by using some advanced vocabulary, then my thesis statement will become something like this: however, juveniles get a plethora of merits by immersing. Immersing means by being involved, okay, by immersing themselves in such events, okay. It means juveniles means youngsters, or you can consider as a students. I opine that sometimes such trips can also yield detrimental. Detrimental means harmful outcomes in one's life. It means although there are advantages, sometimes this kind of trips can also produce some harmful effect. It means there are also certain disadvantages. And this essay will elucidate. Elucidate means nothing but the explain, will explain both points. Point number one is advantages. Point number two will be your disadvantages in detail. So that is what the discussion that we have made up to now for the introduction paragraph. Now it's time to see how, by using this discussion that we have made up to this point, can be converted into your real introduction paragraph. So without wasting any time, let's see the same. Now it's time to discuss body paragraph number one, in which we are going to discuss, or we are going to target the advantages of students' exchange trips. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's start discussing points for body paragraph number one. According to me, friends, the first advantage of this kind of trips, in which the students of one country will travel to another country, the first advantage that students will get is like they can understand various cultures and various cultures of different countries. Okay, let's say for example, if one particular student of India will travel to another country, let's say for example to Canada, then probably he or she will understand the culture of that Canadian country or Canada, right? And in that way, this understanding of different culture will definitely become beneficial for students in a longer way. Okay, so this is the first advantage, that students can understand various culture apart from their native country. So this is the first advantage. Now, if I talk about the second advantage, then it would be something like this, that students can build better camaraderie with fellow students of their country in which they are going to study. Okay, it means camaraderie means they can develop a friendship, okay, with fellow students. And when you have friends from another country, from another culture, okay, from those kind of individuals also, you can learn so many important things which can be utilized in your further life. So that is the second advantage. The first advantage is learning about culture. The second advantage, you can develop friendship with fellow students of that country in which you are going to study. The third thing, or the third advantage, is indirectly the outcome of first and two. If you understand the culture of another country, if you are having friends from another country, you are having good bonding with them, ultimately you will become more sensible towards different portions, different kind of society. Okay, you will become more sensible towards different individuals of society. You will become more sensible towards different cultures of the world. Okay, in that way your overall personality will become good. So that is what the third advantage of the students exchange trip. Now, the fourth advantage according to me is like, the students will get a chance to live independently. Okay, and just because of that independent living, students will become more assertive and audacious. Assertive means students will become more confident because they have to deal with all the situation in the another country, and they will become also audacious. Audacious means they will develop a kind of risk taking ability. So these two qualities, okay, being confident and being audacious, will definitely helpful for students in a longer run in their life. And just because of that reason, this particular advantage we can consider in your body paragraph number one. And the third and the last, sorry, not third, the last advantage of students exchange trip will be, students of one particular country will get a chance to explore the diversity of education system across the world. It means that, let's say for example, if I talk about the students of India, okay, in India there is one particular kind of education system in which we are studying. Okay, now if we get a chance to go in Canada, or to go Australia, or to go any other country, okay, and study over there, then you will get the chance to explore the education system of that country. Okay, and it may possible that there are certain good points which you can learn from that education system, and then you can utilize the same for the rest of the life. Or you can also transfer the same thing either to your junior, either to your other friends who are living in your native country. So these are the advantages, these are the 5 points, okay, which are according to me, they are the, like, these are the advantages of students exchange trips. And these many things we can include our body paragraph number one. Okay, if you have any more advantages in your mind, feel free to write in the comment section. Okay, now it's time to see, by using these 5 points, how we can develop our body paragraph number one. So let's see the same without wasting any time. Now, friends, we are going to discuss body paragraph number two, in which we are going to discuss disadvantages of students exchange trips. Why we need to write these disadvantages? Because in our thesis statement, we have, like, we were diplomatic. It means we need to write advantages which we have already discussed in the previous paragraph. Now we are going to discuss disadvantages of this kind of trips from the perspective of students. So the first and most important disadvantage, according to me, of this kind of trips would be this kind of trips sometimes become harmful to overall health of students owing to atmospheric changes. Sometimes what happens, the students of, let's say for example, if I give you the example of Indian students, we are living in a very hot climate, and we travel to some other when we travel to some another country where the climate is quite cold, okay, so due to that atmospheric change, okay, sometimes the health of students is affected. So that is what the first disadvantage, according to me, of this students exchange trip. Now, if I talk about the second disadvantage of this kind of trips, then it would be homesickness, right? In like homesickness is nothing but a kind of feeling in individual in which or due to which individual miss their family a lot. Okay, and just because of this homesickness, sometimes students may become the victim of mental ailments like depression. They may become patients of depression. Okay, so that is the another disadvantage of this kind of trip. Okay, we have discussed two disadvantages. The first one is the health issues due to atmospheric change. The second one would be mental ailments like depression or bipolar disorder also due to homesickness. So these are the two disadvantages. Now the third disadvantage, if I talk about of this exchange trip, sometimes students have to pay the accommodation cost in the country where they are going to study. And as they are going to travel to another country where in most of the cases accommodation cost will be quite high. And just because of this reason, sometimes for those students, trips can become quite expensive. So that is what the third disadvantage according to me. And the last and the most important point, or what I can say, the most significant disadvantage that I can consider of this student exchange trips would be sometimes the students who are traveling into another country for getting some education or being part of these trips, they have to face bullying. They have to face bullying from the native students, and that bullying can affect the intellectual growth or mental growth of students who uh, like who have traveled from some another country. So bullying from native students can affect the mental growth of students also. So these are the four disadvantages according to me of the students exchange trips. If you have any other points in your mind, then you feel free to write down in the comment section. Okay. Now it's time to see how these 4 points can be utilized and we can develop our body paragraph number 2. So let's see the same in next slide. Now friends, it's time to discuss the conclusion for given topic. As we have already discussed in our thesis statement, we have mentioned advantages also, and we have also mentioned disadvantages also. Now, as I have said always, that whenever you need to write conclusion, always try to think about who and what, right? It means that who can do something to get, if I talk about from the perspective of this statement, then who can do something for getting maximum advantage of these trips, for minimizing the uh, for minimizing the disadvantages of trips, and what can be done, right? So that would be your, what I can say, uh, the conclusion for this particular topic. Okay, according to me, the answer of who would be the incumbent authorities or existing authorities of the schools who has arranged this kind of trips for the students to travel in another country and get some education. So they can do something. Teachers of school can do something. Authorities of the schools can do something. Plus, Parents can also contribute in an indirect way uh, to motivate the authorities to do further proper arrangement and all those things, and like by making some references of their friends if they are living in another country. So ultimately parents and authorities of schools can do something or can make some proper arrangements to maximize the advantages of these trips and minimize the disadvantages of this. That would be your general idea of the conclusion. Now it's time, like if I reframe the same general idea by using some good advanced vocabulary, then your conclusion will become something like this. And your conclusion is like, to conclude, in spite of having colossal benefits, colossal means so many benefits of students exchange programs. It means although there are advantages are there, right? Incumbent means existing authorities and parents should rub shoulders. Rub shoulders means they should work with each other for mitigating. Mitigating means for solving further snacks. Snacks means problems of the same. It means the authorities and parents should work together to solve this, like to solve the problems and to get maximum advantages of this kind of trips. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoy this explanation, okay, and all the points, and like whatever during this discussion, whatever advanced vocabulary I have used, and if you are not clear about the meaning and how to use them, then again you can go to the playlist in which I have described all those words with meaning and with sentences. Okay, and you can learn those things also. Okay, now it's time to see entire essay slide by slide. So I will not let you guys to wait more. Let's doing the same, and we will meet next weekend with new topic. Till then, be happy, be safe. Goodbye.